and it is time to call our September meeting of the board to order.
Mm-hmm.
The first item on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda.
Move the approval of the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay. And is there any discussion of the consent agenda? Any questions for Charlotte before we vote on it?
We did have Marguerite found on the incidentals FY20 report. I didn't change the date to 9/1/19 from 9/1/18, but we'll just keep that. It's not worth correcting on the.
Okay.
No, I was just for my
But it will correct
it was
it.
for my edification. I was like, is that
What year are we?
No, but it'll be corrected
Yeah,
on the next
okay.
one. So
yeah.
Very good.
of the 100 pages, that was it. That you
There were only
found.
77. Okay, so any further? All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome and invitation to speak. This evening we have with us our new assistant director who has shifted spots within the library to fill the assistant director position since the last time we met. So welcome, Ms. Sampson.
Thank you.
Have you met all of us around the board? Should we go around and do introductions just to make sure that you're...
No, now I
No.
know. Except our Marcia. Nice to meet you. I'm Lydia.
Perhaps the viewing audience doesn't know Lydia. Would it make sense to tell a little bit about what you've been doing that led you to this point?
Okay, so I'm Lydia Sampson, and I started here let's see, when did I start?
About 2 years ago.
Almost 2 years ago. And I started as the head of the technical services department and was just promoted to assistant director. Before that, I was the assistant director at the library of LaSalle College in Newton, Massachusetts. So it's been fantastic so far, and I love our team, and I'm excited about the opportunity. So thanks for inviting me.
Very good and welcome.
Hope you had a chance to read Lydia's assistant director's report that was in the
Yes. Yeah.
packet.
Yeah.
Good. We decided to separate it out because what she does as assistant director is quite different than what she does in technical services, although there is definitely an overlap. So anyway, so she'll be giving me reports every single month to include in the packet.
Very good. Thank you.
And I hope everyone read Liz's reference questions of the month.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Which was your favorite?
The one that was singled out. I'm trying to remember what the gist of it was, but it was one that had you crawling through ancient documents, I think.
Yeah.
Of course, that may not single it out.
I know.
The shoes.
Oh, the shoe store
That's
one.
it.
Yeah.
That's shoe store.
That was a
Did
fun
you ever
question.
narrow it down, or was it sort of like it's somewhere in this group of 8 or whatever it was?
The patron was reluctant to give her own contact information, so we couldn't follow up with her. She said, "Don't call me, I'll call you," and she hasn't called back. So
She was in touch with Patty Fanning, though.
she was.
Yeah, you might want to talk to Patty about it.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. I will follow up with Patty.
Yeah, those are the best part of the whole entire report.
Well, the rest of it was very good too. Reading everybody's reports, it seems that the reports have just evolved to be more and more personal about what people do instead of just very didactic and they used to be informative but dry. I like this little piece of
People have gotten a little
Yeah.
more, more used to it.
in depth.
One thing that's amazing is we didn't really have much of a summer break. I think every September we find, especially when I read the reports to put together, I'm amazed at what we accomplished over the summer, what we get done here at the library is, our regular programming and then all the other little projects we do. So It was great. We had a busy summer.
Yes, Ms. Mother.
I'm wondering just why we don't have board meetings in the summer, since there is things going on.
I don't know. Sarah's been here since 2003 because today I wanted to compile, I wanted to update the website as to who has left trustees and whose term is still on. And Sarah has been here since, are you sure? 06?
Heather was a baby, and Heather is turning 14. So
I thought it was 03. So she's
No.
been here since before me. And as far as I know, it has, if I go through the trustees' reports going back, we go back to 1910 or even further, probably even back to 1898. I think they've always had a summer break in July and August.
And does that mean it needs to continue, or
No, but
do you
nobody's
think it
ever
might
brought it
be
up
a good idea
before.
to have a meeting in the summer so that in September we don't get 900 pages of things to read?
Well, it
But
was-
also there's things that I'm sure come up.
Well, I'm in contact with the chair if something comes up. Actually, we did have summer board meetings, emergency meetings, 1 year, I believe, in the summer. It was contract meetings, I believe. But that's the only time. So
in the summer that we were working on hiring a new director, we also had
right.
meetings. and-
Right. I do think,
Interviews.
Donna, I think most of the other, I think the personnel committee, I believe has the summer off. I think there are other boards that have the summer off. In
Oh, yes, I talked to, sure, Finance Committee, what's his name? And
Alan.
his wife's name's Michelle, his daughter's name is Erin, what's his name?
Oh, that's Bob Donnelly.
Thank you. And he said, oh yeah, we had the summer off too. But that doesn't mean people have actually gone anywhere or anything like that, it's just, yes, sir.
Michelle,
I think the distinction I would make is between how much is going on and how much requiring our active oversight or voting or deciding. And that does tend to sag down in the summer, except as the example they're citing, when there's something that is not an annual phenomenon, like hiring a new director, like dealing with contracts and such. So I've been on here for a few years, and I haven't noticed any particular negative effect of skipping the summer. What I think your comment about the 900 pages and such is there are really only two places where you can appreciate just how much good, cool stuff this library does. One is these reports, and we're the only ones who see that. The other is the activity page of the transcript. I mean, if you look at any other local paper and they mention what is going on in their library, it's like, okay, here's the baby version. Now you want to see the adult version? You go to Norwood. Just an incredible profusion of quality things to do and places to go. To Lydia's point about having a good team, this is what the good team is able to accomplish and has been able to accomplish year after year after year. And they don't need us holding their hands during the summer. So I think that's where we ended up with the practice we've had, and it's worked well for us.
I continue to stay in support of having July and August off.
All right, so, since the reports are due every month, would it be possible to send the reports out every month?
Well, yes, there would be. This year was different because our financial reports are not complete yet because of Munis,
Mhm.
the changeover to Munis. So that's why I wanted to make sure that you got something last week so that this did get cut into parts. And I do always send out a midsummer report around the 1st of August that includes the end of June and July and the start of the fiscal year, or the end of the other fiscal year, not particularly the start of the other. But this year, because of Munis,
So since it's already approved.
I wasn't able to send out the financial report, so I just combined all the department reports for you for the first meeting.
Normally we do get the complete
Yeah.
midsummer packet in August, but
Yeah.
Charlotte and I had discussed that when I was here in August.
Right, and, you know, it still needs, they all need to be approved at the September meeting, and
Right,
so
I
getting
understand.
them, you know, in 2 bunches is good, it would have worked.
Would
And you
just
still
not-
did get it in 2 bunches, but you just didn't get the department reports that way. The financials came in too, the end of FY '19 and the beginning of FY '20. It would be a bylaw change,
Really?
to bylaw change if you were to meet 12 months of the year.
Oh, I thought you meant the,
No, 12 months of the, because I believe it's in the bylaws, that you do not meet in July and
is.
August, right? So that would require a bylaw change.
So, the next item on our agenda this evening is correspondence. We do have a letter announcing the upcoming special town meeting scheduled for Monday, October 7th.
Right, that, it was, the letter was dated August 22nd, that's what it says on the agenda. And the meeting's the 7th and 10th, they expect it might go 2 nights.
Okay. And we also got the Board of Selectmen approval for the Assistant Director position.
That was, yeah,
Which was
on
back
June
from June.
12th, right.
Has there been any other correspondence?
No.
Okay. Very good.
And we don't have anything on the on the warrant for the special.
Very good. Moving on to old business. Update on the capital projects, the chiller and the LED lighting.
The chiller has been working beautifully. I'm sure that you've all noticed the wall. That's a wall that was manufactured up to highway standards for
Okay.
noise. And it actually, there's no back wall because they found that the back wall was manufactured wrong. And then we decided that we would have the noise, the sound people out to hear, you know, what the decibels were and measure those, and they approved it without the back wall.
Wow.
So, and I find in my office that there doesn't seem to be as loud as it was in the past, even with the window open.
Excellent.
So, and we've been a little bit cold sometimes. We try to keep it, you know, comfortable for patrons. Sometimes those of us in offices can get a little chilly in here, so, but anyway, it's worked great all summer long.
And the lighting?
The lighting, Kathy Carney is swamped with capital projects, and it has been quite the summer at Town Hall with Munis. And I talked to her this morning at the town manager's meeting, and it could be that we put this off, that it gets encumbered into the next fiscal year, mainly because there are so many other projects that are taking, they feel are more important. So,
Okay.
it's not a huge project. I mean, it's, you know, the big project, but it's not gonna require what a lot of the other town projects are requiring for capital. I'll just keep you posted.
Very good. Noise in the library and teen behavior. We're just starting the school year.
I haven't noticed,
They've actually been better behaved than usual this September.
Excellent.
Yes.
You should knock on wood when you say that.
Yeah, you know, nothing like the complaints years ago. But we'll keep it on the agenda because that seems to work.
Strongly in support of that.
The fact that it's on this piece of paper
Yes,
results in teenagers behaving better?
Yeah,
we believe so.
We
Are we
believe
Firmly
so.
believe
It's
so.
magic.
Huh?
It's magic.
We put it on the agenda about 7 years ago to be on for every meeting, and ever since then, we really haven't had the same issues we've had. We had some
We have
real problems
occasional
years ago.
issues, but
Yeah,
not-
just occasional.
So we will continue to add it into old business. The study rooms or study pods,
That's-
how is this project?
It's on hold, actually. Mass Corps hasn't gotten back to me, but I haven't pressured her either because
Okay.
we've had so many other projects going on this summer. But I'm going to keep it on there because we need to,
We need to know.
we need to move on it. We need to make some kind of decision this year.
Okay. the Pasniokis Digitization Project.
I'm gonna turn that over to Lydia, because she's been handling it.
Well, the papers are digitized, so we
Wow.
hereby officially have Norwood Free Press, Norfolk County Free Press, and Norfolk County Press. Those are the three name changes from 1937 now all the way through 1965. On our website, searchable, and you put in a search. You can search all these different ways, and you come up with a PDF, an image
Oh, wow.
version.
Wow.
So it's much easier to see than the microfilm, and microfilm is not searchable. And you can isolate different papers or different years, and there's all these functions. You can clip images, you can share to social media, all these advanced things. And aside from the 4 reels that we had in-house, that we had previously digitized, the rest of them were the bound volumes that Patty Fanning donated to us and that we saved from oblivion. Literally, nobody in WorldCat, OCLC, they don't exist anywhere else in the library world in this international database.
Wow.
And unfortunately, the database is in-house only, and it has IP recognition. And that is because the trail of ownership ultimately leads to Gateway Media, which is a behemoth conglomerate, and even though they would not likely ever create this database themselves, won't allow us for copyright reasons. They won't allow us to open it up to the whole wide world. But the microfilm was only available in-house anyway, so
Okay.
it's
Do they
it's still a
recognize
pretty
that you
good thing.
have it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, they know. For the original 4, we got a letter from them, officially allowing us. But I don't have the exact law or statute or whatever it is written down, but there is some law or statute that indicates that you can change format of something you already own to make it accessible.
Nice.
So we own them. We own the papers. They're sending us back the unbound papers, which we'll keep in storage in archival boxes. We own them. We're keeping them to our own population, and we just transferred them to an accessible format.
So people
And
would come
we
here
got,
to research.
Yeah. But we'll also have them cataloged, so someone could search our catalog or search OCLC and learn that they do exist, and that someplace does have them, and it's us.
Very nice.
Mr. Hall.
John?
You had your hand up, Donna.
But my question was answered,
Oh,
so I
okay.
couldn't.
Well, and but the point was on the agenda was the Pasniokis donation. So we got the bill for $7,048 from Advantage Preservation, and that's been submitted to Casey, who's been in communication with Mr. Pasniokis. Charlotte's been in communication regarding putting up a plaque in the library to acknowledge the donation.
In honor of his mother.
Very good.
I'm wondering whether we've had any actual use of it for research yet.
Just went up.
Well, we already had the
Some of
advertiser
it.
in review, and we already had those 4 reels, which Liz pointed out to me. They're the war years. They're the 1940s, and there's a lot of.
We want to do some programming around them.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that sounds excellent. I was just looking
they have.
for hooks to use to announce to the community that we have this new, and put a plug in for Pasniokis' generosity in the process. And I was thinking that the research questions that we get in might end up providing us with a particularly relatable, colorful example of use. I don't know how soon that would be.
Well, I know that the databases have been used now that the reference staff has gotten more familiar with them. Liz, Vicky would probably know more about specific examples. I think Patty Fanning has probably used, at least explored. And in the message that I sent to Mr. Pazniukis and Ms. Fanning today, I did mention that this is a really big deal and will be important to our community, and we want to promote it. So I asked for their thoughts and feedback and Charlotte's on programming surrounding it.
Well, we have a regular column in the paper, and I'm just thinking, if Debbie Fanning wrote Patty Fanning wrote a guest column talking about some of the books she's already published about the history of Norwood, talking about the upcoming 150th anniversary, and putting this in as the latest resource in our collection of resources is, so then it wouldn't have to carry the whole column, but you'd nevertheless wind up publicizing a lot of things that people probably aren't aware of, and making Norwood seem like some place that really is honoring its past and aware of its past.
I can talk to Patty about it, but if Patty isn't willing to, I'm sure Lydia would love to write about it in one of your columns
And I have a lot
to say.
on my no, well, I have a lot to say always, but I have a lot of columns scheduled too.
Oh, do you? Yeah, you do. Everybody.
Do we have the Norwood Messenger up?
That has not been digitized yet.
Are there plans for that?
Plans to, we hope to continue digitizing
Yeah,
this.
and we're thinking that with this donation, we can advertise the fact that this is something we can do with donations if folks want to see more of that. I have the pricing for, and it's less expensive to digitize existing microfilm than it is to digitize newspapers, which they have to cut out,
Right.
large format scanner
And Boston Public Library will not do newspapers.
no,
Right.
they're not doing newspapers yet.
They will do other things, like they did our annual reports.
So
but
it
they
would
won't
be,
do newspapers, so we have to find either some other kind of funding or decide that this is something we want to, it is materials expenditure. It falls under the materials expenditure requirement because we're making it accessible.
Well, I guess I realize that you guys have your columns planned out often several weeks ahead in terms of that, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be a column from a librarian writing it either. We could reach out to the newspaper and have one of their staff reporters come in and talk to Mr. Pazniukis, reach
that's a
out
good
to
idea.
different people who have a direct contact with this and have it perhaps in a different section of the newspaper to get more awareness out there as well. So that's just a different spin-off on how to get some good publicity.
Well, I think if
And
we have
awareness.
programming around
The programming
this,
will help too.
and we haven't talked to Mr. Pazniukis about it, but the initial donation he was making was larger than the money that it costs to do this. So we have thought of reaching out to him and asking him if he would want to do some of the programming around it. And my feeling is he probably would say yes. I'm working with him on the wording on the plaque, and we'll kind of weave that into it as we go.
Ms. Montgomery?
You also could think about Susan Clare. I mean, she's got a background in editing and all kinds of things.
Susan Clare writing about it. Yeah. We could. She has written a lot for the newspapers and stuff. She's not familiar with any of the topic though, so I'm wondering how she
I don't think it would
feel.
take her long to get up to speed.
Well, that's true.
She
but-
does have a well-known niche and has more than she can handle, I think, servicing the different aspects of that.
This is just really an interesting time, though, the 30s through the 60s, we can certainly come up with some programming that would work well. So,
Well, and the company that does the digitization, they have a lot of great ideas about how to do outreach and promotion, and there are shops that have been around, for ages, and often you can find an advertisement for that shop, or they were saying things like on Father's Day you find an old funny ad for a dad and the tie that you buy him, and you know, put it up on your social media with a appropriate little caption, and then put a plug in that you can search search the
that's
old
cute.
newspapers or something, a historical event
Yeah.
with a church or school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll.
In connection with that, Lydia, for several years at Norwood Day, I wrote a quiz that was a history quiz that was run through the Friends of Norwood Center. And in the process, I found places where they list celebrities born in Norwood. And it also, I tracked down the dozen or so oldest continuously operating stores and such. I say stores and such because the library is on that list. But now you've digitized the newspapers that are back in the area when many of these places were getting started. So there might be a way of turning that into something that highlights a number of different things, any one of which might draw in another part of the audience.
Yeah,
Some
I'd love to have a
sports-
brainstorming session
Yeah.
with all the interested parties and
Great.
decide
Liz
what
can have a
direction we
bingo
wanna go in.
square next summer that has, she had some interesting bingo squares this summer on her adult reading bingo, which was fun.
Got mixed feedback on that.
Yeah, people want to read books. They
Yeah,
don't
they
want
want
to.
books.
They don't want to go. She had some interesting questions. She'd say, "Read outside." It was a bingo square, and people would say, "How long do I have to read out? Do I have to read the whole book outside?" It was fun. It was fun.
Supposed to be fun.
So anyway, congratulations to Lydia. She did
Yes.
an amazing job on that, and we look forward to doing more digitization and getting more and more of our stuff
Very good.
online.
The microfilm reader.
Well, there seem to be two camps. One
Only
is
two.
only two.
That's good.
Right. It's this or that. What half of the people really want, and we have very strong proponents of getting a microfilm reader in here, a new one, up to date, one that prints and is, modern. And then we have other people in the other camp who feel that we don't need a microfilm reader at all because everything is being put online. Patty Fanning is in the camp of feeling that so she's asked me many times, when are we getting that microfilm reader? So I think we need to come to a consensus. We need to probably have a presentation of some sort. I could even invite Patty Fanning here, and she could, tell you all the things that she wants to find in microfilm, so we can, because it is this huge expense of $10,000, and it is some people don't think it's a dying technology, and some people do. So that's maybe what we should do, is just really, weigh the pros and the cons of this and spending the money on it. There are libraries out there, many of them, some good libraries, Quincy and Boston, who have really good, more modern microfilm readers that work well.
We can price out what it would take to digitize the rest of the microfilm that we do have and make it searchable. But something that Reference had pointed out was that they receive reels of microfilm through interlibrary loan for patrons.
They want them, and so they're looking for them from other libraries. And how many of ours do we send out, Liz? Is that sort of equal?
As far as I know, we haven't sent any, but
Oh.
but also, if a library like in Colorado requests a reel of microfilm or a book or whatever, the request actually goes through the Massachusetts library system, which goes on our normal circulation run paging list. So I would never see it anyway.
Oh, okay.
So
If they're
I-
requests that were filled by somebody
Yeah,
else.
so I wouldn't see that.
But people are coming here to view reels of microfilm. So we would be one of the libraries that people can come to, one of the fewer and fewer libraries that people could come to view microfilm from other places. So that's something else to think about, not just that they would be viewing our microfilm.
Well, are people coming in with their own, or are we just talking about interlibrary loan, patrons getting reels through our interlibrary loan?
In this scenario, for the most part, I think it's interlibrary loaned. People who are more heavy into historical research, like Patty Fanning, are more likely to bring in their own, but I don't see it as commonly.
Mr. Hall?
About 10 or 15 years ago, when I was still working at National Fire Protection Association and I had the library under me, they had one of these moments where they had to decide whether to continue to make their microfilm collection, which was sizable, useful, or go 100% toward digitization. And it was also a 50-50 split. What I noticed was the librarian types all tended to want microfilm
The
because
librarian types.
it's preservation.
Right.
There were other people who found their way into the decision-making process. They tended to be younger. They tended to be digital freaks, and they were interested in usefulness more than they were interested in preservation. And
Well, we do
On
have
that,
the New York Times on microfilm. I don't know what years they are.
We have
a massive
huge
collection
stretch.
of New York Times on microfilm in this
well,
library.
this is where I was going too.
Right.
I think the microfilm advantage is magnified when you're talking about really old documents, and that we have a large collection of really old documents. I can't see that they would stay as useful or be as assured of being preserved if we knocked microfilm out of our collection of resources. So if we took a vote now, I would come down on the keep microfilm alive side.
Ms. Simpson?
To clarify one thing, we are keeping the microfilm reels, and it is a more stable preservation model. So, for example, when we sent the batch of bound papers, what they did was they cut them out, they scanned them, they transferred them to microfilm, and then digitized them from the microfilm. And so we do have the preservation copy. So I just wanted, for the record, to clarify that we, it's more of a question of do we, you're talking about preservation, which is one aspect, and then we're also talking about how people access the information, whether it's through this kind of machine or this kind of machine.
We could certainly think about it for a month and put it on the agenda for October, and possibly
I would
have
support that.
somebody more information on. Interestingly enough, I was surprised to find out that the microfilm copy is thought to be more, what's the word you want? Stable than the digital, which kind of goes against the thinking of if it's on the cloud, it's there forever, but it apparently is more stable.
So if we're going to put this off for a month, would it be a good idea to have Patty Fanning come?
I could ask her, because she really feels strongly that we should have this.
Could we find out from the handful of people that have the microfilm, how often is it actually used?
I will, and Brian knows a lot about that because he was in Quincy.
Yeah.
Quincy has one, and I could in Boston, and I do believe they are used by all of the people who have found that their libraries no longer have them.
Yeah, because truth be told, if they're not used that often, if it's $10,000 and it, when you get a machine, there's always the maintenance, there's always the upkeep. So $10,000 is not actually how much a machine costs.
Yeah, although ours has been relatively sort of maintenance, it's and I don't know how old it is. I'm not quite sure, but it has not. It's not like a lot of machinery. It's not as.
But the toner is quite expensive.
The toner's expensive, but
So if
they pay for their copies too.
huh?
They pay for their copies.
They pay for
so
their
that
copies.
offsets the cost of the toner. the person who makes copies.
So-
But, okay.
Well, I'm saying if people want microfilm, and the town is, and we don't have the money, if we don't have the money in our, in the library, you don't think that we have the money in the library for this?
Oh, we have state aid.
We have enough in the library at this time
Oh, yeah.
with the pods?
Yep.
Okay, if that's not a problem, because I was going to say if it's a problem, then people can also, Quincy and Boston are not that far, at this time, because I keep hearing from the town
Yeah.
how hard
We'll get more
it is.
information,
Yeah.
okay, for the next meeting. I've been reluctant to make a decision mainly because there are these two opposing viewpoints.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll bring some more
We
information.
need someone to do the opposing for Patty Fanny, because she can be very, there are some people that want what they want, but, you have to have somebody who has to have the opposing view.
Yeah.
Nothing against anybody who wants what they want, because when I want something, I want what I want too. And someone has to say, well, you're not, you have to listen to this side of the story too.
It was more heavily used though when it was in better condition, so.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the main pro is searchability, just
Right.
keyword search.
Right.
For
For having
For
it.
digitizing.
for digitization,
Digitize it.
as opposed to.
But because now with that $7,000 that Mr. Pasnielskis, we're done with the digitizing. More digitization will cost us more money, right?
Right.
So,
It was only a one-time fee
right,
for the platform,
right.
but now we pay, I think it's $135 per reel.
Yeah.
Ms. Montgomery.
I was wondering if there, if there are any other towns around us that have the microfilm ability, like Walpole or Foxborough. And first, do they have microfilm that they would want to look at our library? And second of all, when I was a kid growing up, we used to come to the Norwood Library because it had better resources than the local library. So I'm thinking of that too. So we are another resource besides Boston and Quincy with
Right.
easier traffic.
Mr. Hall.
Yep.
I'm thinking of the research questions again. If we end up in a position where we have a lot of microfilm of old documents, but we don't have a microfilm reader, then it isn't really an impulse choice to do research on a question that looked like it would benefit. It's a major decision because you've got to take the stuff over to another library and devote a whole day to doing that. That's not an insignificant impact on what could be very useful and productive results. On the other hand, if you digitized all the microfilm stuff, you'd have usable copies, but that's a significant cost, as we just heard. So when you're preparing the information, in my mind, it's not just two choices. The microfilm choice and the non-microfilm choice, there are other decisions involved in what are you going to be able to do, how easily, given the combination of resources that we will
Yep.
continue to have.
We'll get a comprehensive report for next month, so we can finally make a decision on this. We've been sort of kicking it down the road, mainly because it was a huge expense, and there were two opposing viewpoints. There are two opposing viewpoints in the library amongst the staff. So we'll we'll let you make the decision with all the information that we come up with.
Great.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
We'll look forward to that. Reports. We had some pretty extensive reports in the packet.
Yeah.
Was there
It-
anything you wanted to highlight for us?
No, there were just way too many things to highlight. That's why in my email I said, please take time to
Read
read
carefully. Yes.
these different reports, because the staff puts a lot of time and effort into, not just not just detailing what they do every day. You know, it really isn't that. It's just an overview of the departments, and you know, we have had so much interest in professional development this summer that has been really exciting for me to have everyone want to be so involved in all the different workshops and all the different opportunities across Massachusetts, and that's wonderful, and that's one of the things that they report on. All of their, you know, Patty Fanning is just doing an amazing job with. Patty Bailey is doing such an amazing job with, you know, her Turn the Page, and she has done a survey, which I included.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Of her participants to find out if they're doing what if they're getting what they want. And that's been great. So, and by the way, I just thought I'd say that most of you are at Norwood Day and watched Patty Fanning. She
Yeah.
was Volunteer of the Year for Norwood, which was really
Fantastic.
which was great to see. So, as far as any personnel report, things have been
Busy.
Things have been busy, but not as far as, you know, our staff is so stable. We haven't. We have a couple new reference substitutes, which has been wonderful. They've been making it easier for Liz and April. We are looking for some circulation subs, and what we've decided to do is try to maybe get somebody who might want a couple hours at the circulation department that works in another library. They wouldn't be professional librarians, but they would be circulation clerks that already have some knowledge of how the ILS works and whatnot. So we're hoping to fill some positions there, because we actually have 2 staff members who are moving on in the circulation department. Mary Medetti moved to Worcester. She's been here for a long time. And she's been every Wednesday and Thursday night, and occasional Saturdays, or one Saturday a month for quite a long time now. And Jeannie O'Toole has gotten a full-time job with the school department, so she'll be just doing a short shift. So we need to replace them. So that's it for personnel.
Okay.
It's been great.
Friends of the library. I know that Miss Henry is unable to join us this evening.
So I will report for her that it was a successful day on Norwood Day. We had 2 tables. We had the staff table, and Liz will show you her henna to prove that we had a really successful
Very nice.
Oh, it
Very
still
nice.
looks nice.
Do you have any idea how many henna, people were hennaed?
We are estimating it at about 175.
Wow. It's wonderful.
They're fast, and they do a beautiful job.
Yeah, there were 3 of them working on it,
There were that many.
and they just churned. They're just amazing. They're worth the investment. People love looking forward to henna at Norwood Day every year now. It's kind of become a thing.
And it's a
Yeah.
continuation of our
Yeah.
World Communities grant that we had with the LSTA
Great.
grant. So that's been great. The Friends made over $200 from memberships and books, and we sold an ornament at the table, and they received, I think, 8 memberships, which is more than they've ever received on Norwood Day.
Excellent.
So
The weather
a lot
obliged
of
us.
a lot of people talking
Yeah.
to Norma and Kirsty about literacy, which was
Good.
good, which is why they're at the table too. So in the weather, we were shedding our coats and everything else by about noon. Got there and it was chilly, and then it was beautiful. And there was John was there, and Donna was there, and Leah, and it was packed. You couldn't walk down. You had to go in on the sides, and if you wanted to get anywhere, because it was so packed. So it was
A good way
day.
to be.
They sold almost all their buttons, I guess.
Wow.
I think it was at least as many people as they had last year. I think was one of the best years, and it's great. Yeah, it's nice to see.
Excellent.
So they are having the Friends. I think I wrote it in my report. There's a fundraiser at Little Bird. No, I didn't tell you. Okay, I may not include it because I thought Debbie was going to be here to report on it. But there's a fundraiser October 17th. That's a Thursday night. It's 7 to 10, I want to say. It's cheese. There's a man coming, cheese person is coming, and he's going to have all kinds of cheeses to taste, and they're going to have all kinds of wines.
Might be cheesemonger. I think that might be the
Cheesemonger.
right cheese person. I make a lot of cheeses.
And somebody else is coming with wine, and there's music, and it's a fundraiser, so it's somewhat expensive. It's going to be a lovely evening, though. It's $50 a ticket. You can either contact through the library. It's going to be on our library calendar. You can, Liz, do you know how that's working? You're gonna be able to
The
register.
program description is up, and I discussed with Nicole how we could put an Eventbrite link in there, and a way to make sure that nobody accidentally signs up on the library calendar thinking they're good to go without having actually really registered and paid for it. So we're working on that.
Yeah, so you'll be able to register, and you can if
And
you're.
where is this located again?
Little Bird is down at the Norwood Space Center.
Okay.
It's sort of a little restaurant event space.
What do you call it?
It's called Little Bird. Little Bird Events is at the Space Center, and I believe it's the owner of the Space Center. I'm not quite sure. John, you might know a little bit more about. No.
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 But I'm not surprised.
She's donating the space to us. And obviously, any of the wine sales, glasses of wine and whatnot would help her with the event for
It's
donating.
not Percival.
Nope, that's
Is
the
it-
brewery.
Is it like near it?
You're in the right area. Yeah, it's just a few doors down.
Okay.
So we're really looking forward to that event, and it'll be a nice social time. And
No, October 17th.
October 17th, which is a Thursday night.
At what time?
I believe it's 7 to 10, but you can look on the library calendar. So that's a real happening for the Friends, which is great.
Exciting.
And they had a lot of people interested. Nicole Garricoon created a beautiful poster. We had that up at Norwood Day, and they'll be putting more and more marketing stuff out there, trying to get interest. So we're excited about that.
Very good.
There was an outreach report in your packet. I just wanted to make sure you saw that outreach is doing better and better work all the time, and
Yes.
reaching out to as many people as they can in Norwood. They never feel, however, that enough people in Norwood know about the outreach services. People are just shocked when they find out, oh, you would actually come to my, bring this to my home.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be that you're, housebound for any length of time. You don't have to be you could actually be on maternity leave. You could be recovering from surgery, or any reason why we would come and bring any of our collection to you. And Nancy and I are going to an outreach roundtable in Western Massachusetts together, try to get some ideas on how other people are marketing their services. Because I'm sure you read in the outreach reports, they've lost a lot of their outreach patrons. They just keep losing them, and they're very attached. So it's kind of a sad job in that respect, but. Anyway, so they're trying to replace some of those people that they've lost with new patrons.
Very good. New business.
Okay, long-range plan. We have a long-range plan due. We would be starting to think about this year. I wrote to the MDLC and I told them that I would be retiring in the next, it's about 2 years now, and that I felt that as retiring director, I should not be the person signing off on the long-range plan, that it should be the board that's sort of in place after that, and the new director and the staff that's here would really take that ball and run with it. They have already agreed to give us a 1-year extension. It wouldn't
Okay.
affect our LSATA grants or anything, because when you get a formal extension, you don't have to file it for another year. So probably in January, we'll talk about what the time frame for that would be. I I did talk to somebody who's interested in being a consultant.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing. I remember John will remember because he was John and Pat and me on the last long range plan, and getting the consultant was a huge part of the project. And I think we need to talk about the finances of that and what we would be willing to pay.
Is the
Again.
person that you have your eyes on the same as the last time or
No.
different?
No, it's different. Yeah, it's totally different. Actually, not a librarian.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Well, what is his or her background?
her background is in doing long-range planning for cities and towns across Massachusetts. And I spoke with him, and I said, I talked about the fact that we didn't have $100,000 to spend on this, which is what some of these things cost for large cities and towns. And he said to, talk to him if we were interested. And I think it would be kind of thinking outside the box a little bit, not so much the template, which I think would be an interesting.
I think that would be a good thing.
Yep.
As you know, I had some frustrations with
Right. The old one.
with the old person, and I think this is just the kind of experienced but fresh to this area person that might be able to improve on things.
If things go as well as they went this year with our state aid, that would be a good use of our state aid funding to really do a real different long-range plan, really get the community involved. We had the community last time, but I think getting them a little more involved, reaching out. We've got a lot of different new groups. We've got Progress Norwood and all kinds of other groups who we could partner with.
Very good. The grandfather clock. I dread when I see this on the agenda.
Isn't there
I take it
a
is
song
not happy
about the,
again.
Isn't there a song about the old grandfather clock?
Yes. There's a painting, a famous painting of an old grandfather clock too, something.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the poor grandfather clock. I'm attached to this grandfather clock because it sits right outside my office. It has had a bad sound for a long time. We didn't quite know what that was until we had the clock specialist come in and tell us that the things that work with the sound are sort of in the wrong places, so the wrong notes are being played at the wrong time. Right, Liz?
Wrong melody.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're not in time with each other. They're kind of hitting out of time against each other, and so it's making a sick sound.
Yeah, and the weight,
Yeah.
the very heavy weight, fell off. In fact, we found out what it's like when a librarian screams in this library.
Yeah,
we
who
had
comes running and who doesn't? Because we found out.
there
lot of
were
people came
6 of us who tore down the stairs when we heard Liz scream.
I did not scream.
Oh, who was it?
April screamed.
April screamed. But I saw you standing at the clock looking at it, and what happened is the weight fell because the wire fell, and there's really needs to be restored. It's a beautiful clock. It was given to the library in 1925. The plaque on the outside tells you that story of who did it, who gave it, and I don't recall the name. I thought maybe this person had it in their family for 100 years or something, but no. Apparently, it's just like late 19th century clock. So sometime in the late 1800s, it was made. But it's in all the pictures from 1925 on. We've really taken as best care of it as we can possibly take care of ourselves, and it needs to be restored. And his estimate is $2,800. I also asked him about the clock that's on the mantle in Casey's office, and that would be another story. But that one also needs some work because they're old. But it's about 1930s, 1920s, 30s. It's not much older than that. But anyway, I would really like to call him tomorrow morning. And this, by the way, this gentleman is the gentleman who is contracted to do what to the Custom House clock? Do you remember?
I think they maintain it. They're the company in charge of maintaining the Custom House clock.
David Hostrasser in Hanover. which is Lydia's hometown. And I think our patrons are noticing all the time, what's the story with the clock? Why isn't it working? And it, you know, if it's restored, it'll keep great time. It's a beautiful clock.
Ms. Montgomery.
The people who do the Customs House clock have had more than one write-up in the Globe magazine, because I remember reading about it,
Yeah.
which might be of interest to us as a publicity thing. I'm also thinking that if people are asking about the clock, even if we say, go ahead and spend the money right this minute, we could have a donation box right there that said, we're fixing this clock, put your dollar in here.
Can we?
I don't know if we can. Yeah, well, we couldn't put it just there.
Well, I
because
know,
it would
but you
disappear,
know.
but I'm not quite sure what we're allowed to do. We're not allowed to fundraise. That's why we have the Friends.
Well, the Friends could put the box.
Right, the Friends could ask, we could talk to them about possibly figuring something out, maybe. But we do have, you know, Cushing Fund, Endowment Fund,
Yeah.
state aid funds. I think that, you know, I'm anxious to make sure that this gets done.
So you are looking for a motion from us if we are in favor of having you move forward with this.
Mm-hmm.
I so move.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? Sorry, Sarah.
Mr. Hall.
If time were not so urgent, this seems like the sort of thing that could well be approved as a Community Preservation Act grant. It's large potatoes for us, but it's small potatoes for their funds, and it is historic preservation, no doubt about it.
Aren't they spending a ton of money at town?
Yeah, but we got a ton of money left.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know that. Well, maybe we could, can you do it in
The thing-
retrospect? Can
Well,
you have it fixed
that-
and go back and ask for it?
That's the trick, is that if we operate on our normal cycle, you'd be putting in the proposal in October, November, and the final
get it
approval
tonight.
wouldn't come until annual meeting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I meant when I said time being an issue.
Yeah.
Ms. Montgomery.
However, that is something to keep in mind for other projects, like the other clock.
Yeah,
May
maybe.
I have your attention, please? It is now 8:30 and the library will be closing at 9 o'clock. If you have any material to check out and you don't have a library card, please come to the circulation desk at this time. No cards will be issued after 8:45. All the public computers and the printers begin shutting down 10 minutes before closing. Please plan your work accordingly. Thank you.
So.
So we have a motion on the table.
It's been
Mr.
seconded.
Hall.
Could moving forward include a recommendation on where the funds would be taken to pay for it?
Certainly. I think it's appropriate. Cushing Fund.
Cushing Fund.
Yeah, which is, the Cushing Fund, you know, when the renovation, the Cushing Fund is paid for these kinds of things, yeah. Cushing Fund paid for an appraisal of different things in the library. I think actually it might have, I'm not sure if they got an appraisal on the clock. But anyway, I think it'd be appropriate, and I don't have my FY19 funds in front of me. What did we make last year in interest in the Cushing Fund? I think it probably was around $2,000.
Is this what you're looking for?
FY19? No. Well, yeah, it's probably on there. What was received last year was $3,207.
How much of a wiggle room do you want on our motion?
Well, I would say up to $3,200. Why don't we do that? Because that was what we received in the Cushing Fund last year.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to approve up to $3,200 from the Cushing Fund for the repair of the grandfather clock. All in favor? So moved.
Thank you. I think it's important. I love looking at the old pictures of the downstairs and seeing the clock. It used to be in another corner, but we've really taken good care of it. Mr. Moresco, Michael Moresco, who lived in town, used to take care of the clock. And he came in probably a year after I was director, and he said, "You will not let a man wind this clock." Because the custodians would wind it, and he'd just wind it really tight, and then he'd have to be called in because it had stopped working. And so we've been very, very gentle with it for the last decade. And it's worked well for the last decade until now.
Excellent.
Okay,
The January board meeting.
so you received in your email the issue with that, and I'm away. It's late in the month. It's January 14th, so my plans to be away were. Is that what it is? January 14th?
Yes, it was
Yes.
the 14th of
Yeah.
the 7th.
Yeah.
Was the
So
14th.
I made my plans, and knowing full well that we could either change the date, which we've done many times every year, we seem to change the date, or that Lydia could lead her first trustees meeting.
Or you could change the date.
Or you could change the date. If we changed it, it would be the 7th. 21st is too late.
Well, it's not like we're televised. Oh, wait.
Be good practice. Yeah.
If we do it on the 7th, will we get the paperwork in a timely manner?
It'll be very tight. And what I might do is just require everyone's reports before Christmas is what I would have to do. Yeah. Because they come back to work on the 2nd,
Mm-hmm.
and all the reports usually go out on Friday or Saturday. So that's the way it's always been. They were received usually when I became director. They were received in the mail on Monday mornings. So there was only 2 days. It's going to be tight, but we'll figure out a way. If I work over my Christmas vacation, that's what I do.
I propose to leave it on the 14th.
You do?
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
How about the 21st?
Well, I think because that doesn't leave a lot of weeks. It's on the 14th. The February meeting is on. Well, the February meeting's on the 11th. It's like
Yes, it'll be 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Let me just check. I'm
It
sure.
seems like it would surely solve
Wait a minute.
Donna's problem. and I think she's not alone in being concerned about having complete.
Yeah, it does give me
timely-
a lot more time to get, because, it is difficult to get the financials and everything together, because I try to be as exact to the last day of the month with everything. I don't want to cut the month early off.
The other thing in my mind is that this is the first meeting Lydia's been at, and I kind of would like her to be at a few more meetings than just to jump in.
She's thrilled that you're saying that.
It's not the first one I've been at, but I have never led.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My reason for pushing the 21st is partly that I think even if it's on the 14th, there might be some problem with some of the reports, like the ones coming out of town hall being.
Well, no. The big problem right now is that with Munis, they're still getting all that together. By then, they'll have everything set up.
So
The
that's
14th
not
isn't a problem, but the 21st is good. And then the next month is the 11th, which is a good date too. When it's on the 7th is the very earliest it can really be, right? No,
No,
it could
the
be
8th, because it has to be the second Tuesday.
Oh, right. The 8th, sorry. The 8th is the very earliest it can be anyway. Okay, so you need to vote? No vote?
21st is the day after MLK Day. I don't know if that matters to anybody who's going away for the weekend or anything like that.
No, and that actually, I think sometimes it is right after a holiday. Right after Columbus Day, we often have a meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe we do next month.
We do?
Do you need a motion?
No, it's the week before. Okay. Yes, we can do a motion.
I will
Officially.
move that our January meeting be on the 21st.
Second.
I'm assuming we do not have additional discussion as we just took care of the discussion prior to the motion. All in favor of moving the meeting to January 21st?
I shall
The-
attend.
Well, I wouldn't rule out the idea that you might still be running it, or that you two might team up to
You
run.
guys can swap seats for the day.
I'm sure she'll have another opportunity at
Bring your
some
daughter
point.
to work day.
Okay, and you never know, could snow. Well, I
We're
think
thinking and we're
last
saying it.
year was the first year we had missed a meeting because of snow for, I can't remember another time we missed a meeting. So it was kind of interesting. Okay,
Were there any search warrants?
no, there
Excellent.
weren't.
Are there any miscellaneous advisories?
Nope. Everything was in the report. We actually had a fairly quiet time of it. We're I am really looking forward to Jim coming back next Monday. I think that it's been tough, doing his job,
We're trying to
not
figure
the
out the
vacuuming.
coverage and everything.
I'm thinking actually we should invest in some Roombas. No, seriously. That would start at 4 a.m. and everyone would get here and it would all be vacuumed.
We
Well,
gotta
you're not
get close to
actually
the stairs,
vacuuming.
we're all good.
No. I have a Roomba. They know. The little eye goes out, it sees that there's nothing ahead of them, and they turn right around.
I wonder how long it would take to do the second floor.
I don't like that thing at Stop and Shop, I'll tell you that.
Oh, that one.
that
Oh,
one's a
yeah.
little
No,
creepy.
this is not bad at all. Well, I love my Roomba, but anyway. So,
Alrighty. Staff and public remarks. Would you like to share any remarks this evening, Ms. Reed?
Wow, I'm on the spot.
You can say no.
No, I don't. Not right now. Come back to me.
Well, see, we start with staff and public remarks, and then we do the trustees. So,
What sort of remarks have you gotten in the past?
What are you reading?
what are you reading?
what are you reading? Something that's caught your fancy?
Or
Or
remarks.
many say nothing.
I actually am not reading any books right now. I'm just so deep into podcasts at the moment.
She's also not doing a lot of knitting. She found out
Getting
that
there.
moving into her own home has really kind of cracked her knitting style, right?
Yes, I'm getting back to it a bit because now we're getting into crafting season again. But yeah, for a while there, it was all stripping glue off the floor all the time.
I, for one, would be interested in what podcast you're listening to.
I would
I think
too.
that's within the scope of what
It
we're
is.
talking about.
There's one that's being released as we speak by New Hampshire Public Radio about Lyme disease. That's quite interesting. It's called Patient Zero. And this is the same crew that did the Bear Brook podcast about the true crime, the bodies found in the woods. That it's an ongoing case that they keep updating. So that one is well done. I would recommend the one about Lyme disease and Bear Brook.
So for people who aren't familiar with podcasts, they haven't gotten into it yet, and they're intrigued by the one you've described, and they know who produced it, but they don't know how to go about gaining access to it. Is there a quick couple of sentences you could throw out to our many viewers?
Sure. If somebody is using an iPhone or Apple Mac product, there is, I think the iPad podcasting app is built in, isn't it? Or do you have to go get it?
Yeah.
No, it's built in.
It's
It
built
just-
in.
So for
Podcasts.
iPhone, it's just called Podcast.
Purple
and the app is
square.
built in.
It's a purple icon on an iPad or which you all have, and on an iPhone. But I think you can also listen to it right off of New Hampshire Public
You
Radio.
can usually listen to it right off the website of whatever organization. And if you have an Android phone like I do, there's a lot of different podcasting apps out there. I would recommend going into the Play Store and just looking at reviews, see which one is doing best.
Isn't there one called Stitcher?
Stitcher, Audible.
Audible. I used one called Podcast Addict just because the phone I had at the time was the highest rated for that style of phone, so that's just what I've been using since, and it works just fine.
I wonder if there's a program in this, just a program about
Oh, a lunch and learn.
podcasts.
Lunch and learn.
Yeah, a lunch and learn, and maybe even an evening lunch and learn, snack and learn, dessert and learn. That would be fun.
There you go. I got
Getting
it.
to
Rhyming,
cocoa
yes.
season.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of people, and it is kind of confusing. But once you get the hang of it, then you've gotten the hang of it.
Hooked.
You're hooked, yeah. Because podcasts are they're time sinks, though. You can just keep.
Well, there's a podcast for everything. I've listened to so many podcasts while I've been, again, stripping glue off the floor in my new house. It's really
There's
good.
okay, I'll talk about my latest one. You've probably listened to it too, when it comes to me.
And usually we include Charlotte in with the trustees' remarks anyway, so.
Lydia?
Yeah, so, Lydia.
Well, I am on a related note. I'm reading Chase Darkness with Me by Billy Jensen. And if you're a true crime fanatic, then you
Let me
know
know how it
exactly what I'm
is.
talking
Let me know how
about.
it is.
And he actually worked on the Bear Brook case and was instrumental in the Golden State Killer capture. And so it's about his work and the cases that he's worked on and his relationship with Michelle McNamara, who wrote, what was her book called? I'll Be Gone in the Dark. She was obsessed with finding the Golden State Killer. She passed away before finishing her book, and he, Billy Jensen, along with some others, used her notes and research to finish the book and publish it. And then the killer was caught.
Yeah.
It's excellent. I love it.
We have
It's not everyone's cup of tea. That
we have a
subject
true
matter.
trying contingent on the book
Right,
discussion group, the
yeah.
staff book
Yeah.
discussion group
Yeah.
that gets more and more exciting all the time.
Okay. So, we'll move on to the trustees' remarks then.
Okay,
Ms.
well,
Montgomery.
I have a couple of things. I'm concerned about the outside lights, Charlotte.
Yep.
In 1917, I called John Hall and said the outside lights are off. In 2018, I mean, not 1917, 2017, I called the town manager.
Who
I-
called me?
Yes, I emailed you this year.
Yeah.
The lights are not on in a timely manner. When I came in today, they were not on.
No. Probably mainly because it's difficult because they're not sensitive to the sun. They're on a timer. Right. And because Jim isn't here, I am not.
Okay.
He tries to be on top of it,
Well-
but the other custodians aren't, unfortunately.
I think that this has been an ongoing problem. Well before I called John or anything else, I was complaining at the desk. The girls at the desk tell me all the time people complain about this. It seems to me that it'd be very simple to pick up the globe or whatever weather app you use, see when the sun sets, and
May
then
I have your
on
attention,
that
please?
week.
It's now 8:45 and the library will be closing at 9 o'clock. If any material to check out, please come to the circulation desk now. All the public computers and the printers begin shutting down 10 minutes before closing. Please plan your work accordingly. Thank you.
And then that week you designate a day, Mondays, we set the clock, because it's been ongoing, and if anybody falls up there, that's going to be bad. I broke my wrist last year, not here, but not good. Another thing,
Jim will be back on Monday, and I'll talk to him about getting
Okay.
his staff on top of this.
Okay, because I have talked to Tony about it too.
Yeah.
The other thing is, although Mary's leaving, I'm aware there's a number of people working in the library who speak other languages, and I'm all about inclusiveness. And I think that we should have either like a tag on the person saying I speak French or I muddle through, or a sign like they have in the hospitals, here we speak Urdu and, French and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think we have a lot of. Lydia has some basic Spanish. She's been able to help people.
Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese, or regular Portuguese. I mean, people speak things, and I muddle through with the help of a dictionary, because I'm really not good at this social media stuff. But I have all the dictionaries of every language you could think of. And I muddle through with those and my basic Latin and my basic French, and I can get through. And I know there's other people who know more than I do about this who can speak things without,
Okay, we'll do a
Being
survey of the
fluent.
staff and find out,
yeah.
you know, who might.
Like at the grocery store, it's like hablo español or something. You can
Yeah.
have a little sticker
Yeah.
on your.
Yeah, no, what we need to
Neat
do is
idea.
identify who.
Yeah.
I know Mary
Yeah.
was one person.
Yeah, she spoke Iranian and
Yeah.
she spoke some other languages too.
Yeah. Not really sure that we have a lot of
Well, you
languages,
have
but we'll do a
the
survey.
Indian woman.
Find out.
Yep, we have Chandrika.
Yeah, you have some of the
And we have
pages.
Mary.
Yeah.
Yep, and some of the pages. You're right.
So what I'm reading
Mm-hmm.
is The Liberators. It's a little bit older book by Michael Hirsch. And it's about those poor guys who went into all the concentration camps and released all these young men, 18, 22, who went in and saw these dreadful things. And I read a lot of this stuff because I don't want to forget about it. And of course, it's a fascinating subject. 3 times for Aaron. I think that's excellent. Look at this picture.
I don't want to even.
I'd rather not.
I'll pass.
Everybody's gonna pass. You guys have no guts.
Yes, that's right.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah. What is this? Oh, prisoners of war.
Yeah, washing. Yeah, just, anyway. We don't want to forget about this.
Okay.
You know, in terms of reading, I read, what's the name of Education?
Oh,
Educated.
educated.
Yeah, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I'm reading now, the nun study, the study of Alzheimer's in the Notre Dame convents. There's a network of convents. The study started in 1986, and really interesting.
I'll follow up with you if I can't figure this title out.
The
For
what?
The title
Of what?
of the book.
The nun study?
It's called The Nun Study.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
Ms. Connell?
I've been listening to an interesting podcast on multi-level media marketing, MLM, I think, The Dream, which is fascinating, which talks about, starts out actually with a story about sort of this interesting time in the 1980s when they did, what was it called? Oh darn, I'm gonna forget. But it was what's that?
Herbalife?
No, it was another. It was this thing where they got into they were like an airplane. And do you remember what it was called? I can't remember what it was called.
What was it?
It was they would go to a party and they would bring $1,500.
A pyramid scheme?
It was a pyramid scheme, but there was a name for it, and I don't remember what it was.
The airplane game?
The airplane game, yeah. And how these people were just going again and again and again, and getting $12,000 or $11,000 or $12,000 every single time they went, and that there was not an endless supply of people who had that kind of money to burn. And then they talk about all the different what they consider pyramid schemes in all of the marketing, all these multi-level marketing companies, and it's about 10 episodes. It's really interesting. It's called
I've
Dream.
never gotten
Is it called
into-
American Dream or just Dream? Can't remember.
Yes, I haven't.
How do you do a podcast?
Well, we're gonna try to have a we'll try to have a
Do you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
It's this,
So I mean, like, do you sit in your living room and listen to your phone
Yeah.
as the phone reads a book to you?
yeah, it's like an
if you want
audiobook.
to, or have it playing in your car. I just kind of keep my phone in my back pocket, and I'm listening as I'm walking around the house doing things.
Oh, I see.
You
Yeah.
use this one, and
Yeah.
then you can search. So you
Yeah.
can search for the Dream. one that
Okay.
Charlotte just
Yeah, it's
mentioned.
called The Dream,
So
so
Yeah.
when you listen to a podcast, are you doing it in your car?
in the car,
Or you sit in your living room and
Cleaning the
you
house.
can do it
Do the
doing anything,
dishes.
making dinner.
Yeah.
I keep it in my pocket. and
Crocheting.
It's just whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're
Out
just-
for a walk,
Yeah.
headphones in.
Kind of like having a book, a constant book, but it's episodes, so it's a little bit different format.
So can you stop it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a recorded radio broadcast.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's kind of like the old-fashioned radio shows in a lot
Oh,
of
right,
ways.
yeah.
Yeah,
Some
sort
are
of brought
dramatized
back.
too, with
Yeah.
actors and everything, and some are factual.
Not many of us remember those.
Yeah, so it's not it's sort of television without.
If you get Sirius
Lone
XM
You're right.
as a channel, it's nothing but.
Really, because we
Yeah.
have Sirius, but we always listen to
That's
CNN
pretty much
radio.
what's on in my car whenever I drive it
Is it-
It's a
Is what?
podcast
Is
channel.
the old time radio
Oh,
channel.
old-time radio.
Oh, gee, my husband puts that on when I'm trying to sleep. I'm sleeping, and then I go, "What is that?" And it's like, "Charlie, did you get beans again tonight? Because I'm sick of beans." I'm like, "Are you listening to those cowboy shows?" He goes, "I have it on really low." I said, "I am trying to sleep."
Marguerite, you're on TV now. You could be
Yeah, right.
discovered. This could be your big
All of your
break.
friends will talk.
He listens to cowboy shows
You need
late
to
at
make
night.
him wear a set of.
And I've managed to trigger you somehow.
Oh God, those cowboy shows.
He needs ear pods.
Chester, go get the horses.
Have you been reading cowboy books? since
No,
the
I have
August comics?
not. I have not.
What have you been reading?
Well, I read a lot this summer, but the book I liked the most was this book by Elizabeth Berg, Talk Before Sleep, and I've read a lot of books by her.
I like
because-
that one.
And about these women that met when they were 40, and one of them got breast cancer, and she was estranged from her husband,
It's on your
and
second page.
divorced from her husband, and they had acrimonious divorce, but they were both married, and the friend who took care of the woman during the breast cancer, she had such an understanding husband and such an understanding daughter, and they let her go and live with this woman, but the woman with the breast cancer and the friend, they were just such soul friends, and they said anything and everything to each other, and they just opened up, and I was like, wow. I mean, I could have I have relationships like that with my sisters, but anything and I mean, just everything. And she had a lot of friends like that, this woman that was dying. It was just it was a lovely yet, and sometimes raucous, but sad story. Very sad. But it was nice.
Yeah, that was an old. That's
Yeah.
like 15
It's old,
years
very
old.
old, yeah.
Good book, huh?
Yeah. It was in the Wayback Machine.
Mm.
So that was a good story.
Mr. Hall?
I want to briefly mention three things. I haven't read this yet, but I'm intrigued by it. Is the latest Stephen King book, The Institute. And part of my reason for being intrigued
May I
by
have
it
attention, please? It
is
now
that the setup
8:55
sounds
and the
like
library
a
closing at
number
9
of
o'clock. Should
X-Men
any material check out, please
plots
come to the
over the
circulation
last
desk
50
now.
years.
Thank you.
And none of the reviewers seem to know X-Men enough to see the parallels. They see parallels with other Stephen King books. But another reason is apparently it's sprinkled with shots at Trump. And there was one in particular that was quoted in the Globe about a librarian. It says, a kindly determined librarian is hauling books for her library which has no funds. And she says, quote, Trump and his cronies took it all back. They understand culture no more than a donkey understands algebra. So I thought, well, librarian connection, that's good enough. The actual reviews, I do about half the books I do are books on CD, and I had one recently that I can strongly recommend. It's Memory Man by David Baldacci. Are you familiar with the book?
I've read the book.
Outstanding. Well, we have ordered the 5 sequels. We like the first book that well. Long story short, this is a fellow who was briefly a pro football player. He had, at his first game, he was hit so hard that he almost died, and his brain was altered so that he now cannot forget anything, even the smallest detail. And this plays out into a story in a number of unexpected ways, and they introduce some other interesting characters. But it's you could think of it as a modern noir story, but it's got a lot lighter touch than that. Would you say?
I thoroughly enjoy that whole series.
Yeah. Oh, you've read them all.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I have. Yes.
Okay. So that's a good thing. Now, in terms of reading them all, Gene and I fell in love with a book in 1990, published the previous year by Susan Wolfe, called The Last Billable Hour. We thought it was the best mystery we'd ever written. We sent it to all of our friends, and we never heard from her again. And we thought, this is a one-trick pony. We can't expect anything more. It's a mystery set at a law firm with a lot of humor and an incredibly accurate reading of people and the way they interact. Lo and behold, almost 30 years later comes her second book, which is what I'm recommending tonight. It's called Escape Velocity by Susan Wolfe, Wolfe with an E. Not related to the first book. There's a whole different setting. But it's the same sort of thing as a lot of lawyers talking. The observations of office behavior when you have toxic management was like they had planted microphones around my office. I mean, just phenomenal accuracy. And the dialogue scenes are the best scene. That's where you can. She's a lawyer herself. You can see that she's got a real knack with words. The ending is a bit rushed, like she'd done the part she enjoyed, and now she had to finish it off. But overall, absolutely can recommend this. It's not easy to get a hold of. I was going to donate this, but as you can see, as I hold it up, pages are coming loose already.
That's
It's a small publishing firm out on the West Coast, I think, and we're going to try to get better
It's now 9
copies for
o'clock. The
ourselves and
library is
others.
closed.
But Escape Velocity, if you get a hold of that, I
so.
think you'll be pleased.
Did you check and see if we have it in our collection?
I haven't
Okay.
checked whether you have the first book, which you definitely should have as
Okay.
well.
Okay. So, John, you don't have to donate. We'll
We'll get them.
we'll get it. But that is a kind of a common thing with books these days. They're not made
Oh,
as
really?
well as they.
It's the first time I
They
discovered
don't make them
it.
like they used to.
Well, we're not getting other copies just to donate. We've already started making a list of who on our Christmas list is getting a copy of this book. So.
Wow, that's great.
Okay. Well, I did quite a bit of reading this summer, and included on my list was another book from the Memory Man series with Amos
Terrific.
Decker called Redemption by David Baldacci. That was a very gripping, and it drags you in a lot of different directions as he's trying to work through this particular case. In addition, I had a very different book that was on my favorite books of the summer list that is entitled Stones for Bread by Krista Parrish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely a very nice summer read. But the woman in question in the book, the main character, owns a bakery. And she relates it a lot to how bread is used as a way of expressing many different things, both within a religious context and within human-to-human contact. And so she takes what she does as her job and goes off on these little tangents as the book is being written to talk about ways that people use bread as a form of expression as well. So it was definitely a very Very different from the Baldacci books, for sure, but a delightful read.
Okay.
Those are just two of the many.
How many would you think altogether you read this summer?
Well, actually, I was kind of light on my reading this summer, and I would probably have to say that it was less than 2 dozen this summer.
Slacking off.
I was totally slacking off. My mom kept asking me what books I had to recommend, and I was a little slow until I delved into a whole stack and read through it in about a week. So, these things happen.
You're our thriller expert, though.
I do read a lot of
You
thrillers.
do, yeah.
Do you speed read?
Do I speed read? Not exactly.
But you
I'm
read
a
fast.
relatively quick reader, yes. It is that time.
Will we adjourn?
So Mr. Hall has moved that we adjourn.
Second.
Yeah.
Ms. O'Leary seconds.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.